Hello, everybody. Welcome to Management 1009 Contemporary Management Principles Week 1 lecture. I hope that you guys have looked at the unit introduction video and you have some kind of an idea what we are going to cover in this unit. So, in today's class, we will be looking at managing and performing. It's kind of an overall idea about this chapter or about this unit. Okay, so before we begin, let me acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm presenting, Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. Let me pay my respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. Right, what are the learning objectives of the lecture today? To summarize the major challenges of managing in the new competitive landscape. As you know, guys, the title of the unit itself is Contemporary Management Practices. So this unit is a nice combination of some of the traditional theories that managers are using in organizations, and all these academics have developed, theories, and also to look at what and how the contemporary organizations managers are applying these practices. So as we know, the world that we live in today, especially the business world, has been changing at an exponential rate, right? Especially after COVID, the way that we work in organizations, the way that we connect, the things that we do, a lot different to pre-COVID. So managers are doing things differently, and the objective of this unit is to see what and how managers apply these contemporary management principles and practices to manage themselves, people, and organizations to achieve organizational goals and objectives, right? So, as I said, today's class is a bit of an overview, you will get an overall picture of this unit. We will also describe the sources of competitive advantage for a company and explain how the functions of management are evolving in today's business environment. As I said to you before, it's been changing. Compare how the nature of management varies at different organizational levels, top management, middle management, and lower level management as well. Also, to define skills that you need to be an effective manager. I'm pretty sure some of you guys have managerial experience, or some of you are being managed as well. So we know what good management look like at the moment. You may have experienced good managers, bad managers, good organizational cultures, bad organizational cultures as well. So again, the idea of this unit is to help you guys become an effective and a good manager when you are ready to go into the workplace. And also to understand the principles that help you manage your career as well. Right, contemporary management practices, I really encourage you guys to go through the management concepts and everything that we look at in this chapter. By applying these things into some of the examples, some of the companies, we are consumers, we are stakeholders of different companies as well, right? So how do consumers, how do managers behave in these companies? Why do we like certain brands and certain organizations? Why do you really want to find a job in that dream organization? So try to apply what we know or what we learn and discuss to the real life. So some of the brand names that I've drawn here for you guys to think about: OpenAI, we will be looking at these kind of things, Canva, Telstra, Google, ANZ, and also an American burger company, In-N-Out Burger, right? And there are some examples that we will be looking at these organizations as well. Managing in a competitive world. Pause there for a second, guys, and think about, what does this really mean to you? Some of you guys may not have some experience in the workplace, but managing in a competitive world. I know that you guys have completed your studies, VCE, or your high school studies. Well, be a bit of a competitive world as well, and you may have managed really well, that phase of your life, and then you're talking about managing in a competitive world, especially from business perspective. We need to understand what this world look like, what this competition will look like, right? And then how that some of these big organizations, good organizations, and organizations that are, employee of choice, do better than the other organizations as well. Just start off with, guys. I really encourage you to read the chapter, because what I will be covering here in the lecture is a very concise summary version of the chapter. So I'll give you some insights, and it's your responsibility to go to the chapter and read it with some examples as well. So when you read the examples, case studies that are given in the chapter will help you enhance your knowledge, as well as to see how organizations do apply these things. Okay, so 4 ongoing challenges that characterize the business landscape. So as we know, business landscape's changing. What are the ongoing challenges that any organization would face? Globalization, technological change, knowledge management, collaboration. Then again, guys, pause here for a second and think about, what do you know about these things already? What do you know about globalization? What are your perception towards technological change and collaborations, knowledge management as well? Where you position your knowledge at the moment in these different challenges? If you look at globalization, I think we experienced globalization more than ever during pandemic. The way we work different, the way we went to students different, because we had all online classes and all the students from different countries, we all were in one little screen. That's an example of globalization that affect small and large companies. Because as you know, guys, big organizations, if you take Toyota for an example, and we see Toyotas on our roads, doesn't matter which country you are in, we see Toyota cars, right? And if you think about it, their head office is in one country or different countries, because it's a global company. Their designers are in a different part of the world. Their factories are in different parts of the world as well. So it's definitely a big globalized company. And if you take Google as an example, IBM, many other big companies as examples, they're globalized. Their workforce, their materials, their suppliers, their knowledge is coming from different parts of the world. Globalization has changed the face of the workforce. I have given you guys some examples here. We talk about multinational organizations, expatriations. For an example, if you take some organizations like PwC, IBM, HP, EY, these kind of global organizations, they have lots of expatriate workers working, or employees working for them as well. And sometimes it says, say for an example, if you work for PwC in India, it will be somewhat easier for you to get into PwC Australia, because you already have some kind of an exposure to that PwC culture overall. So let me talk about skilled migration as well. So the world is globalized. So some of the questions that I would encourage you guys to think about is, what are the global products and services you consume, and why? What are the 5 largest firms on Fortune's Global 500 list for 2020? Where these companies are based in, and what these companies are. So I encourage you to enhance your practical knowledge, the knowledge of the business world, by quickly searching the answers for these questions. The second biggest challenge is, guys, technological change. As you know, sometimes it's really hard for us to keep up with technological changes. We talk about online customer engagement, artificial intelligence, all of this, the way that we use chatbots, and how healthcare, education, transportation industry is using technology. It's not just about information technology, it's changing, but the way that we use technology is changing as well. We prefer to go to certain healthcare centers, healthcare organizations, because we know that these organizations use or have better technology that we can rely on than the other healthcare centers. Education is the same. We prefer to go to certain institutions because we know that they have better technology. And also transportation, driverless cars are already in use, so these kind of changes are happening. And also with all this mobile technology as well, Apple wristwatches, Apple iPhones, and all these different types of technology has been changing the way we work, where we operate, where we learn, and where we move as well. And the internet creates opportunities, as you can see, and things are changing rapidly, but at the same time they also bring some challenges or threats as well. We talk about hackers, and one of the recent examples in Australia was Medibank and also Telstra. We talk about ethical dilemmas: who are the owners of this content, who created the content, data protection, the privacy issues, because we can access a lot of information on the internet. Who are the owners? All these kind of things that we need to answer. ChatGPT is a really good example of this thing. It has kind of stunned the world of education and some other industries as well, media industry for an example, and education industry, because we've been amazed with how and what ChatGPT can offer. It will change the way that we operate in the future. Knowledge management, how we manage our knowledge, how we constantly update and upgrade our knowledge is the other challenge. If we think about as an individual, it is our responsibility to enhance our knowledge if we want to stay in this competitive world as well. Just like that, learning organizations are managing their knowledge workers better than the other organization. They invest a lot of money to upgrade or train their existing employees to manage their knowledge, to create learning culture within the organization as well, because knowledge expertise is fundamental for businesses survival. Knowledge workers are primarily dealing with creating new ideas, and they also involve in problem solving as well. So they bring their expertise into organizations to create knowledge and use that as one of the competitive sources as well, because people, as you know guys, people or the employees can make or break organizations. So if you hire and if you manage to maintain and keep your high performing employees who contribute immensely to your organization, they're the people that bring better businesses, better knowledge, better creative projects into your organization. Knowledge management is finding, unlocking, sharing, and capitalizing on the most precious resources of an organization. So when you talk about resources, the expertise, that is why we hire experts. That is why we pay big dollars for experts to stay within the organization as well. The skills that they bring in, the wisdom, the experiences that they bring in is critically important for an organization to face this competition and the relationships. Okay, the next one, or the final final challenge is collaboration. Guys, it is really hard for us to survive in a silo as an organization. Within the organization, we need to collaborate to be or become a better organization, within departments, divisions, subunits, and all of these things, we need to collaborate with each other. Organizations do have visions and missions, but it's leaders' responsibility to make sure that all these different individuals, organizations, and different departments are collaborating to deliver the vision. And it's not just within an organizations, we also need to collaborate with other people in the environment as well. Say for an example, with suppliers, even with our competitors as well. I've given you some two examples here. It's not just within the organization. Some of the webinars are a really good example of how we bring everything together that we already discussed, globalization, technology, and the knowledge management, how we share knowledge and how we collaborate. So webinars, global webinars is a really good example for all of these things. I've given you two examples here for you to think about. It's not just technology related. People get together, organizations and different units get together to find some solutions to big or global level challenges that all the countries are facing, World Alzheimer's Month. So they get together, find some solutions to create an impact as well. Talk about sustainability goals, climate change. So global leaders get together, they collaborate to find some solutions. So these are, as I said to you before, 4 ongoing challenges in this competitive world. So guys, the next thing is we understand there are some challenges, but how organizations or the businesses can compete. What are their sources of competitive advantage, right? What drive their organization? What are their drivers? Could be innovation, the quality. We compete with quality, one organization can say. Another organization can say we compete with cost or the speed, the services that we provide, the quality of the services, or the speed of the services, or the uniqueness, the differentiation, all of these things, or perhaps sustainability. So these are the 6 sources of competitive advantage, or the drivers of competitive advantage. Managers or organizations really need to think about all of these things. Perhaps some organizations are focusing really on 1 or 2 of these things, but it's always better to think about all of these things, because if you want to broaden your customer base, plus if you want to grow globally, because sometimes different countries, different organizations, different customers have different values. Sometimes one can say I need the speed, one can say I need the quality, someone can say I need the innovation. So it's, if you want to win in this competitive world, perhaps organizations and the managers need to develop their competitive advantages in different areas. So I'm not going to deep dive into these things, guys. I'm pretty sure these things are self-explanatory, and I've given some examples here as well. Innovation is fundamental, right? Because organizations, as we know, they innovate. We can't stagnate. If you don't innovate, there's no future for your organization. And we need to adapt for changes, and we need to adapt for customer or customer demands, and we need to see what competitors are doing. If we can't keep up with this innovation or what's happening in your global marketplace, being innovative, sometimes there won't be a future for your organization. But also remember, guys, innovation comes from people, and it must be your organizational strategic goal. I recommend you guys to go through organizational vision of few different organizations that you like, to see what their organizational mission is. Is there an innovation part within their organizational vision? Is that one of their strategic goals? Because that will sometimes tell you the nature of the organization, organizational value as well. And I've given you some examples here: Moderna and Pfizer and Canva, how they use innovation to be in this or win the competitive global marketplaces. And I've given you a link here, guys. Let me show you this. Again, I urge you guys to recommend you guys to go through this website to see 2021 winners of innovative companies. They're not just tech companies, as you can see, innovative companies in agriculture, mining, and utilities, banking, superannuation, and financial services, government, education, not-for-profit. So you can click on these different organizations to see what have they done, how innovative they have been, and perhaps compare these organizations with some of the other competitors as well. Okay, right, quality. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here as well. We know sometimes we make decisions based on quality. Quality is the excellence of the product or the services that an organization offers. So historically, guys, quality referred to attractiveness, lack of defects, and dependability. But today, organizations are thinking about preventing defects, going or achieving zero defects. Because sometimes if you have to, we have seen some organizations are calling for their products to be out of the market. That can be expensive, that can badly impact their brand names as well, right? So that is why organizations are thinking about achieving zero defects. A lot of total quality management activities are happening in organizations, and they have a lot of quality control mechanisms. Again, they use innovative mechanisms to control their quality as well. And it's about continuous improvement. And I've given you some example here. Nike give customers an opportunity to participate in their designing their shoes. Then they can provide the quality that their customers are expecting. So the quality can come in their products, services, the customer support, or the durability. All of these different ideas as well. As you can see here, I've placed Apple logo. You can think about the quality that they offer as well. Service and speed are two another sources of competitive advantage. Service, giving customers what they want or need, is really, really important. Creating that customer experience. If you provide the customer experience that these customers are expecting, only you can expect the customers to come back to your organization. You need to make an effort to continually meet the demands of the customers, right? It's really, really important. It has to be a long-term relationship with the customer. And also to make your service an enjoyable thing. We have really good customer experience. I'm not going to share these brand names, but as an individual, as a customer, we definitely have good experience with certain goods and services, and bad experience as well. And think about what these companies are and why their brand names are so popular or unpopular. Perhaps maybe because of the level of services that they offer. And the speed, sometimes we don't want to stay in long queues. We need the service. Fast and timely execution is really important. If someone is not ready to deliver your product or services within a week or two, there will be some other opportunities and you may go to your competitor. Example is Google Speedy Innovation that they're working on. I'll give you another example here, guys. We talk a lot about ChatGPT these days, and to see how quickly Google introduced their competitor, rivalry to ChatGPT, which is Bard. It didn't take too long, perhaps within a couple of weeks, within 8 weeks' time, Google introduced a competitor, which is Bard, to ChatGPT. So that's the service or the speed that they talk about. The last tool competitive sources of competitive advantage, we look at our cost and the sustainability. I'll give you an example here. As you can see, Bunnings always offer price guarantee, and also Kmart's vision is to provide families with everyday products at the lowest prices. So that is how they compete in the market, cost competitiveness, right? And also, guys, I guess you're kind of a generation as well, and that is the trend of the world today to look at sustainability element. I'm sorry about the typo here, Unilever. People look at the way that organizations are operating, how they manage their waste, how sustainable they are, how much they pollute the environment. All these kind of things are really important for customers when they're making their decisions. I again recommend for you guys to go into some websites like Unilever, Qantas, to see what their sustainability policies and practices are, because we can learn quite a lot from these organizations to see how they operate. So guys, those are the drivers of competitive advantages. That is how organizations achieve their competitive advantage in this market. Okay, another big topic, management. And as management students, you should be able to, on top of your head, to explain or describe or define what management is, right? And let me quickly tell you guys, management is all about working with people, right? Management is all about working with people and getting work done through others. One of the biggest mistakes that managers do is they're trying to be the doer most of the time. But when you become a manager, you need to be able to work with people, creating an enabling environment for other people to work, bring their best self to the work, creating that organization culture that people enjoy, people are happily engaged and work. That is the responsibility of the manager. Sometimes, yes, you definitely have to work and help other people to get through difficult situations. But when you become a manager, your main responsibility is to manage people and manage resources and tasks within the organization. Then you can achieve organizational goals effectively and efficiently. Again, guys, being a management student, you should be able to differentiate these two terminologies, effectiveness and efficiency. I know it is a bit dry and technical, but it is very important too. Efficiency is doing things right. How you're going to, it's all about input output ratio, having that best input output ratio, minimizing your waste, utilizing your resources with its full capacity, right? That is efficiency. You're doing things right. Effectiveness is all about doing right things, that is achieving your organizational goals and objectives. So what is management, what is efficiency, and what is effectiveness? So you need to take your head around these things before you move on. Guys, in this unit, we will also be looking at what do managers do in organizations. We will be looking at 4 management functions. This is kind of the core of this unit as well. And we also try to see what contemporary organizations do in and around these management functions, right? I'm not going to go into details of these things today because we have dedicated chapters for planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. We call them as POLC, POLC, planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. But very briefly, try to see what planning is. Planning is systematically making decisions about goals and activities to be pursued at individual, group, work unit, and organizational level. Let me simplify that. What do managers do when they're planning? They set organizational goals and objectives. It could be your organizational vision or individual level KPI. And try to see what strategies that organization can use to achieve these goals, right? So setting organizational goals and strategy goals, objectives, and then try to see how we are going to achieve these things, what strategies we are going to use. That is planning. The whole objective is to deliver a strategic value. I've given you guys an example here. Swinburne's strategic vision, right? People and technology working together to build a better place. So that is what we have to deliver as individuals, as lecturers, as researchers, as individuals. We are committed to this. Our departments are committed to this. As one unit, Swinburne is committed to this, to deliver the strategic value. The second management function is organizing. So think about this, guys. We have plans, we have strategies. We need to have some systems, build dynamic organizations. We need to assemble, coordinate resources. We need to have human resources, financial, physical, informational, and all the other resources to achieve goals. Managers need to organize these goals into, say for an example, different departments, different units, so then they can contribute to organizational vision, right? It's all about managing people, creating structures to achieve organizational goals, and it has to be a dynamic organization. Traditionally we look at creating organizational structures under this particular topic, organizing, but in contemporary management landscape we talk about dynamic or agile organizations and how managers use or coordinate, assemble resources in dynamic organizations. So we will be looking at these things in a later chapter. All right, the next one is, guys, we need people. As I said to you before, people can make or break organizations. So we need leaders to mobilize people to get the best from their high-performing employees. So stimulate people to be high performers. So we need leaders to influence and stimulate people to bring their best version and to make them a high performer. So we need leaders. Again, we will be looking at leadership in a different chapter. Guys, we can do all of these things, but we still may not be able to be the best organization because we also need to control things. We need to learn and change. We need to see how we're performing. We need to monitor our performances and try to see whether we are in line with our organization goals and whether you're using our right strategy to achieve these goals as well. If not, learn from these mistakes, learn from what you're doing right, and adapt to new changes as well. Think about what's happening in the external environment and then see what your competitors are doing. Try to see what customers are asking from your organization and introduce those changes. So controlling is a very, very important management function as well. Performing all four management functions, guys, as you can think about a day of a manager, it's not neatly divided into these four functions. I'm doing planning for the first 2 hours, organizing second 2 hours. No, it wouldn't be that way. There are lots of interruptions, meetings, firefightings that we have to do, deadlines, and again, when there are crises and etc., managers have to put a lot of extra effort into these things as well. But good managers devote adequate time and attention and resources to all four management functions, right? You can't control better unless if you plan, right? You also need to know how to utilize your human resources and financial resources better, developing an adaptive or dynamic organizations. That's not enough. You need to lead well as well. So it's really important as a manager that you pay attention to all these management areas or functional areas. In a typical organization, guys, there are different types of or different levels of managers: top level, mid level, and frontline managers. I've given you some examples what these titles are. For an example, if you take top level managers are the C-suites, CEO, CFO, vice presidents, and etc. These are the people who are responsible for the overall management of the organization. What is our strategic vision? What's happening in the education industry? So what our strategic vision has to be as an organization? What's happening in the external organization? So they're the people who set the direction for the organization. They're the people who think about the growth and overall effectiveness. We do have middle-level managers like general managers and regional managers. As you can imagine, they're the people in between top and frontline managers. They translate organizational general goals and plans to specific objectives and activities. So general manager in a Kmart would think about how do you execute the strategic vision of Kmart, and what sort of activities that you need to do as a store, what to go on sale, what sort of, there can be high demanding items for that particular store, how to use this customer insights and information to do well. We also do have frontline managers. They're the people who are dealing with people who are actually doing things. They supervise non-managerial employees, right? So for an example, office managers or the department managers, they deal with people who actually do things. So they need to have a lot of skills, and they need to have subject expertise as well, because sometimes they have to help people if they can't do things. Managerial roles, what do managers do? As you can see in this table, guys, there are so many roles that a manager has to play. They make decisions, and there are 4 different roles related to decisions. Entrepreneurial, where to invest, where to initiate, where are the new businesses, and they also have to make decisions around how to do correct things, as we look at in the controlling section, as a disturbance handler, how to manage crisis, how to correct certain actions, how to allocate resources as a resource allocator, making significant decisions around how to allocate resource. Sometimes you have to negotiate with your stakeholders and make decisions as well. So managers have to play a decisional role. And they also need to manage and deal with information as well. So they play informational role. They monitor information, the trends and etc., and then make decisions. They disseminate information within and outside the organization as a spokesperson. So disseminating information, transmitting information from one source to the other. So that is what they sometimes do at organizational or departmental meetings. So they share the status quo of the organization. And sometimes they represent the organization to outsiders as a spokesperson as well. And also interpersonal role. As you know, guys, managers have to work with people, external and internal stakeholders. They need to lead staff, develop, motivate them. Liaising role as well, maintain network with outsiders, as I said, customers, investors, consumers, and government and other related agencies, regulatory bodies, and etc. They have to act as a figurehead to perform symbolic duties. We have seen sometimes, say for an example, your principal representing the community. Sometimes CEOs of organizations represent their organization, award ceremonies, and all of these kind of things. Must have management skills. Guys, I encourage you guys to think about what sort of contemporary management skills are needed to survive and thrive in this competitive world, because we looked at sources of competitive advantage, the nature of challenges that managers are facing as well. So in management, we look at management skills in 3 different areas. You have to have your technical skills. Say for an example, if you're a lawyer, if you're an accountant, if you're a marketing specialist, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in media, if you're a nurse, if you're an engineer, you need to know your technical content, technical stuff, right? So that is fundamental. That is the bare minimum. You have to have the ability to perform the task. If if you're an accountant, you need to know accounting standards, you know how to debit credits, you know how to create a budget, all of these basic things. You need to know that knowledge. You have to have that knowledge. Also, you need, most of the time, guys, as I said to you before, frontline managers or the employees need to have high level of technical skills because they're the people who actually do things. And then it is also important for you to have conceptual and decisional skills because, as you saw in the previous slides, managers have to make decisions. They have a lot of decisions to make in their day-to-day managerial duties. So they need to have conceptual knowledge as well, the ability to conceptualize things, you know, to look at things as a bird's eye view picture or the broader picture, what's happening in the education industry and what our sense of direction has to be, who are our competitors, and accordingly conceptualize your organizational business or the sense of direction. It's skills related to abilities that help identify and resolve problems. You need to know what's happening in the industry overall and make decisions. Interpersonal and communication skills, I don't think I have to emphasize how important it is, regardless of where you are in that managerial hierarchy, as we looked at before. You know, it could be top level, mid level, or lower level manager. Interpersonal and communication skills are really, really important to become a better manager. And we will be looking at all of these things in different chapters, guys. Okay, something for you and you to think about you and your career. We will be looking at emotional intelligence. It is one of the, if you look at or if you ask Google or even ChatGPT as well, tell me about contemporary managerial skills. I'm pretty sure they'll emotional intelligence is one of it. It's all about, it's the skill that someone's ability to understand and manage your own emotions and understand and manage other people's emotions. It's a really, really important skill, especially in this competitive world. When you're working in online context as well, EI is a really, really important skill. We also talk about social capital, which is how you use your social relationship for your own advantage. So we talk about importance of networking and etc. Guys, when you're building your career, as I said to you before, it's really important to be a specialist in your own area because you have to have the technical knowledge, and at the same time you also need to have you need to be a generalist. You know, T-type employees, they call it specialist and a generalist. Be a both. I know it is hard initially, but you may be a specialist initially, and as you gather experiences, it'll be easier for you to become a generalist when you collaborate with other departments, when you collaborate cross-functionally, cross-culturally, and etc. So it's very important to become a specialist and a generalist. Remember that. Be self-reliant. Knowledge management is important. That is one of the biggest challenges as well. So continuously try to improve your knowledge. Connect with people. Networking is really, really important. Try to find opportunities to connect with people around you within your classrooms and even with your lecturers, with your tutors, and with your industry partners when you have opportunities as well. Actively manage your organizational relationships as well to survive and thrive. There's a couple of more slides that I would like to quickly go through, guys. Think about your future. You know, you're working for an organization. Fast forward your career or your life till 2 or 3 years. There are two ways of that you can connect with an organization. You can be a passive employee. You know, you will do what you're asked to do. That is one way, you being a passive employee. Or you can be an active contributor, which will mutually benefit you and your organization. Be innovative, be creative, work with your leaders, work with your peers to see what you can contribute to the organization and to create a strategic value for your organization as well. So if you go to the next slide, guys, so you have your organization and some of the activities that you can do to create a mutually important value. So delivering strategic value depending on your organizational sense of strategic direction as well. Building dynamic organizations, mobilizing people or leading people and controlling them, learning and changing them. So try to see as an active contributor what we can do, how you can position yourself for your own advantage as well as your organizational advantage, how you can make decisions, how you can come up with creative ideas and mobilizing people, creating your taking some opportunities to create your own self-managed team to execute your ideas as well. So that way you can contribute to your organizational strategic value. Guys, let me ask you guys to quickly go through these things as well. Take some time because we're talking about contemporary management principles. It's very important to understand what do organizations do, what do successful executives say and do as well. So spend a minute or two reading these things, reflecting on these things, try to see how much they resonate with you and how you would like to work on these things as well. They convey to others why we do what we do. It's very, very important. Sometimes people disengage when we don't know why we do what we do. So as successful executives, you always need to spell out why we do what we do. Very, very important. They ask what needs to be done, not just what do I want to do. So creating that open-ended question is very important. What needs to be done? Then only you can get some ideas from other people as well. Co-create things. They write an action plan. They don't just think, they do based on sound ethical plan, right? It's very important to write action plan and continuously monitor them. They take responsibility for decisions, guys. It's really important as an individual, not just as a manager. Take the responsibility for your decision. If you make a mistake, that's okay. Just acknowledge that rather than trying to cover your faults, right? Communicate with other people. Yes, I made a mistake and apologize for that and just move on. Very, very important. Guys, these are the things that I would recommend you guys to revise. This is what we covered very quickly. We looked at challenges of the competitive world, major challenges, sources of competitive advantage, 6 of them. We looked at 4 functions of management: planning, organizing, leading and controlling. The nature of management varies varies at different organizational levels: top, middle, and low level managers. Define the skills you need to be an effective manager. So we looked at things like emotional intelligence and building your social capital, for an example. Understand the principles that will help you manage your career as well. That is something that you looked at in the previous slide. So that brought us to the end of today's lecture, guys. So if you feel like this is too much for you, I recommend you guys to sort of break it, 10 minutes, come back to it, 10 minutes, come back to it. So that way you can take your own notes as well. Next week, we will be looking at Chapter 3, Managerial Decision Making. Thank you, guys.